Hey, and welcome back to Dungeon Defenders Live, Quest for Completion. So, we're on episode 6, and our accessories kind of suck, as you can see. Some of the characters don't have accessories, other characters just have terrible ones. And I want to improve the situation with our accessories so that we can move into Karathiki Jungle Survival and Campaign without having too much worry. Because I tested it out a fair bit offline, and it's not very good. Very bad, actually. I hope you can hear that car outside. But these are our stats at the moment. We're going to be going into Arcane Library, Nightmare Hardcore. I'll be entirely honest, we are way, way, way higher in stats than we need to be able to do this map comfortably. I think you only need 2k stats to be able to do this map if you're hero boost, or no, tower boosting the whole time. So you could have done this a lot earlier, but I didn't. I don't know if my route is that much more effective, but it's been a long time since I recorded, so, you know. Anyways, the build is going to be directly from Chiku the Darkling. And it's a simple build. You just slap down 2 sets of auras near each crystal, one right here, and then one near the other crystal, and that's pretty much it. The nice thing about this map is that it's not too hard. The ogres only reach like 20 million HP, and on top of that, the map drops very good accessories, and it drops 2 accessories per character, each of them having a chance to be very good, or just absolutely terrible. I've honestly seen a lot of accessories that are just horrendous, but the odds that you get a pretty decent accessory aren't too bad, so, you know. Anyways, just do the classic cheese with your buff beams to make this a 5 buff beam, 5 DU buff beam right there. I don't think it needs to be. Actually, I think in the original build it specifically isn't that low in DU. I think it's a 6 DU, but I like to be cheap with my DU, and I think you guys might like to be cheap as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the buff beams at the moment. Round 1, we're just going to be placing down 1 tower, and then running around like crazy on our Jester gathering mana. And then place down 1 lightning tower, again, just for round 1. And we'll be moving on to the next round on the Jester. I was thinking about doing it on the Monk, but I think for the first round at least, the Monk just has way worse mana generation, so it's not really worth going about it. But start the round, and the goal is to upgrade these buff beams very, very quickly. So just spam through a ton of enemies and upgrade this to a star as soon as you can. Once you do that, you shouldn't have too much to worry about, because the enemies, pretty much all of them I think, will die before they reach a crystal. And all that's left is to just gather enough mana to upgrade and place down your towers in the next wave. I don't think you actually need to upgrade anything other than that main buff beam. From my testing, I didn't need to upgrade anything except for the main buff beam. But if you want to, if you're kind of bored, then, you know, go ahead and do it. Oh yeah, I should probably build a reserve of mana real quick. I don't know if I've done this yet, but if you want to build a reserve of mana, just spam M as you're hitting an enemy consistently with your lupine bow, and you'll build a ton of mana. Ideally one that does not have an elemental resistance. Okay, so as far as our Jester goes, his job is pretty much done. So I'm going to give him back the harpoon because he doesn't really need to have a genie. And we're going to place the rest of our apprentice towers. And then we're going to place the EV walls. Wow, that was loud. And that's pretty much it. Oh, and the mages, of course. So first things first, you want to have 2 lightning towers, one facing this way, one facing that way. And this is what I add to Chiku's build. A lightning deadly striker facing back here. 1 top right, 1 on the left, and 1 back there. The reason I put 1 back here is because I found that a lot of the time I would experience just a ton of enemies just kind of lingering on over here, preventing the wave from being finished, because it's like a harbinger or a genie, and they're just out of range of all of the towers, and they just don't want to move into the range. So that is my solution. Alright, next is the EV. It's going to be a couple more reflectors. I don't actually think these reflectors are necessary in any way, at least from my experience. Everything dies before they can get here or even damage this place. But you have a lot of DU left over, so if you want to, why not? Alternatively, you could place just 1 more like 4 DU buff beam right here, but I don't want to do that. And there we go. This is another build where we're using the classic strategy of aggro, where we just make sure that the ogres and all the enemies that could get to the crystals don't, because they're pissed off at lightning towers or whatever other towers are in the middle. Otherwise, that bottom crystal over here, I guess that right side crystal would be getting screwed every time. Alright, for this area, for the wall, just do a simple one archer, no, 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 two archers, one mage, one spider. There we go. And then for the other wall, you're going to be using three mages, three spiders, and then two archers. Although you have so much menu left over that you can really just spam whatever you want here. If you're feeling it, you can just put a bunch of mages down, and it won't matter that much because this build really is efficient. It's not even meant to use any of these mages. I just slapped them there because I like having the mages there. Or not the mages, the minions. And I have found in the past that occasionally an enemy will just kind of stroll by here and start wrecking town. By an enemy, I mean a Harbinger. Start wrecking town, and I don't like that. Now, for the quality of life, I'm going to bring in... Oh, that's loud. I'm going to bring in my monk. Because I want to be able to alt-tab. With our stats, at least, this build is so easy that you can just alt-tab, stay AFK, and finish basically the entire map without any worries. So look over here, hold right-click, start the map, tower boost, swap back to your main character, close that screen, and then go do whatever you want. I'm just going to keep my gesture right here, and just go watch like a YouTube video or something. I think if you have 2K stats, maybe not as possible, but we have like a little over 2K, nearly 3K, so not much to worry about on our end. And your character here will run out of mana at some point in the later waves, but I don't think that's much to worry about because most of the time, even though you run out of mana, you don't really run out of damage. You guys are going to have a lot of free time if you're going to be farming this a fair bit, so I recommend you find something entertaining to do in the background. Or maybe just do some exercises. Cool. Alright, now we're on the last wave. And for last wave, just, again, bring in your other characters. I forgot to mention this earlier, but this place is a pretty decent XP farm. Like 12 million XP on the main character, and 17 million on the monk, holy shit. So yeah, if you want to level up your side characters, definitely a good place to go. But yeah, for the last wave, I think you should probably put a bit more attention into keeping your mana up. So you might want to swap your main character for your monk, and put your Destro on the side character or something like that. I don't really care that much, because I know for our stats, we can pretty easily do it. But, you know, if you're having trouble, probably pay a bit more attention to that, or just get your Jester on top of there with a Genie, and then have your Jester feed mana constantly to your monk, and you should never run out of mana. I have run out of mana boost. I think I have my shots set up in a terrible angle. Oh, I absolutely do. That would explain a lot. Okay, there we go. I noticed earlier I set up my my shots at an angle where they would bounce into that right side room on that right screen. Hold on, let me see. Oh, that was a Harbinger. On that right side room over here. They would jump in here and they would keep knocking the enemies back, which meant that they wouldn't die. That right there was a Harbinger. They do that a lot, but most of the time doesn't matter because you kill them. At least from my experience, I've never died to them. That's all I'm gonna say. But I have only done this like a couple of times, 3 times maybe. So, you know, keep an eye out. That's why we have the walls of minions. Yeah, that's it. Let me show the other screen so you guys can see all the cool rewards we're gonna get. I forgot to put away my stuff, didn't I? But there we go. And we got an achievement. Sick. Now then, let's look at the pets we got. By the way, these weapons that you get, probably worthless. Not worth looking at. Pets are terrible this time around. I found that you can get the animuses pretty commonly here. So that's definitely something to keep an eye out for. But let's look at the accessories. This is terrible. This is even worse somehow. This also sucks. This is possibly the worst so far. This was okay. It just sucks that it has negative range. Otherwise, this would be a pretty okay piece for our apprentice. Negatives. Negative range again. And bad stats. I think they're all bad for hero boost or any other type of boost as well. So that sucks. But the thing is, you get 8 of these per go, and they each take up a different slot. So as long as you keep running this, you can get some solid sets of accessories. I'll put one up on screen right now if I can find it. But there was one that I got with like 100 something in each area. I'll make sure I'm not deleting a pet that I want to delete. But yeah, I'm going to repeat this like, let's call it 5 times, more or less. I'll show you guys the rewards of them all at the end, and we'll move on. So this is where we stand after 6 or so runs of Arcane Library on Nightmare Hardcore. Cool new effect, right on the back of all of the characters that have both a fedora and glasses on. Speaking of, here are all of them. Our mage got a new weapon, fedora glasses, these are her stats. Our Eevee, same thing, but 2 new weapons. Our huntress got 1 new weapon, no accessories. And our builder monk got 2 accessories and no new weapon. And I think the last people to get any kind of accessories would be our jester and our tower boost monk. And that's pretty much it for the stat changes. Our summoner didn't really get anything just because I didn't find anything super useful for him. But everybody else here that's a builder, that's important, I guess, got a nice 400 to 500 stat increase. I think the Eevee got like substantially more, but that's just because the weapons were swapped out. And mainly, we no longer have negative speed. But you guys didn't notice that. No more negative speed on these characters. Finally. Other than that, I wanted to show you guys these armors. Some of the armors that I got from doing that, like the end map rewards, not on the ground. These boots are amazing, and these gloves are pretty okay. So if you want to farm that map even more, just for more accessories, more everything, then it's definitely worthwhile. We even got a couple of animus pets, not animus, guardian pets, and these are going to be really nice for any future survivals that we do because they'll make our towers deal more damage or have more range or whatever they need, really. And I kept a few accessories lying over. I think these are going to be mainly for either like an ability 1 monk, ability 2 monk, or like an DPS EV, something like that. But yeah, that's where we sit. We have a cool new effect on every character with those items. And I'm thinking as long as we have enough stats to do Karathiki Jungle, Campaign, and Survival pretty comfortably, we can move straight onto Infested Ruins in the next episode and do that on Campaign, show you guys a build for Survival, and then we can move on to the more fun stuff like Volcanic Eruption maybe. But yeah, I'm going to test that out. And the next thing you guys see should be a run of Karathiki Jungle. Alright, Karathiki Jungle. Follow my path, at least roughly, if you want to not run out of time on this map, because otherwise you're going to be in the middle of a wave on a non-jester, and you're going to have a miserable time. So this map gives you a full, give or take, 4 minutes on the first wave, which is nice, but because the map is so huge, I kept running out of time when I was doing this. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of recommendations. The first one being to max out your speed. That one sounds pretty obvious, but when I was first doing this, I forgot to max out my speed, and it kind of sucked. I still don't have max speed on some of my characters, and that's more or less so that even if I have a very like fast run or that I do everything right, you guys can still, match that same speed without too much difficulty, because, if I can do it with lower speed and have time left over, then you guys can do it with max speed and have time left over. Alright, auras, more or less, just the same triple stack in the same spots. And you're just mirroring the top left, top right, bottom left, and bottom right. What was I going to say? Gas traps. Right, we're going to be doing a little stupid stuff with gas traps for campaign. On survival, we're going to have a lot more time to mess around, so we don't have to be as, we can be a lot more cautious and save some DU with our gas traps, but for campaign, it's going to be a lot dumber. So just, bear with me. That's pretty much it for the auras, and that's the path. Next is going to be your Huntress. I think I only have 75 speed on this Huntress. Yeah. First thing first, gas trap right here. Just spam it until you can place it. Same thing over here. And then run over to the other side and do the same thing. You might think it's better to go this way and all the way up, but it might be actually. I'm not sure. I just don't think it is. From the limited testing I've done, does not feel like it is. There we go. And then run up the bridge over here on the left to get to your next crystal. Now you can take either the left path or the right path, but I think the right path is a little bit faster. And for the gas traps on the top side, just place them very close here, And those will actually cover both sides pretty comfortably, so you don't have to worry about them too much. And then the gas trap over here is the same shtick. Boom, and that's pretty much it for the traps. Next up is going to be on EV. Now, I think my EV also has lower speed than max, which is going to suck a little bit. But, you know, well, maybe I don't actually. Never mind, I'm good. So for the buff beams, on the bottom areas, try to make this a 5DU buff beam. Doesn't matter that much if it's 6DU, but try to make it 5DU. Same thing over here, another 5DU buff beam here. Boom. And then run over to the top, and you're going to make 2 buff beams and a reflector at each crystal. So the first buff beam is going to be for a minion wall you're going to be setting up. Make it right here, make it 4DU, and then make a reflector on your crystal, something like that, not 2DU. Like, oh, it's hard to see, like that, and then a 4DU buff beam. It doesn't have to be that long for that 4DU buff beam in the back. You can actually just make it super short since you're going to be tower stacking there. And then do the same thing on the right side over here. 4DU buff beam there, reflector wall, something like that, and then a 4DU buff beam back there. And boom, we are done with about 25 seconds left over. So if I can do that with a Huntress that has 75 speed, I think you guys can probably do that with a max Huntress and all that. It might take a little bit of trying, but definitely worth the effort. Okay, now it comes the annoying part. The wave. There is going to be one ogre on the first wave, and he's the only thing that can actually get to your crystals and damage them. So what I like to do is I like to stay at the top crystal over here and farm mana from these enemies here to upgrade this buff beam to almost max or max it out completely, depending on how lucky I can get with my mana. And then I can take the ogre over here, take his aggro, and move him over to the right side where I can more or less do the same thing. Wow, I have a terrible weapon. And then you can farm the ogre for mana, or you can farm the enemies down on the bottom left or bottom right that are just clogging up over there for mana. It doesn't really matter which you do, but I like to farm the ogre a fair bit just because I think it's a little bit easier. Anyways, try to get him out of the aura range, and then try to spam a bunch of mana towards this middle area here, because on your summoner is going to be a lot of the troops that you're placing, so you want to make sure that you're able to do it properly. Hold on. Also, as Jester, use your move tower ability to move this tower over here. If you have less range, that'll be a lot easier and you have a lot more leeway, but I have a full 600 range and I'm able to do that for the top side pretty easily, so you guys should be able to do it too. There you go. And as you can see, the gas trap range is gigantic, so you don't have much to worry about. Alright, now let's get some mana going. I'm gonna get this ogre down here and drop a couple of sets of full mana down here. And farm. If you just spam M, I'm pretty sure it's a little bit more efficient. You get a little bit more mana out of it. But that's all we're going to get out of the ogre there. And then you can go to the sides and do the same thing over here, but I prefer to just get enough mana to upgrade these to the max and then move on. Funnily enough, when the enemies do get so like clumped up like this, it might be better to just stack the mana and then upgrade the buff beam rather than just immediately upgrade it. If you can, move the gas traps back a little bit. It'll help a little bit with the crowding, not a ton, but you know, anything is better than nothing. Anyways, there we go. That side's maxed out. And the auras, you do have to worry a little bit about them, but in my experience, they kind of take care of themselves pretty well. So as long as you can upgrade them to maximum, you can kind of leave them for like a wave or two without having to repair much. But if you want extra damage, and I think you probably will want extra damage, definitely upgrade them. On the survival, you will need to upgrade them to max. But move the gas traps back here and here. You can actually make this left one a little bit smaller if you want to. I would recommend doing that actually. I didn't, but that's just because I'm stupid. Alright, cool. That's all the mana we're going to get. So I'm going to upgrade. Alright, move straight over here and jump onto your apprentice. Move this over here. Jump on your apprentice. We're going to be slapping down a bunch of towers. I forgot about my tower stacking script. Give me one moment. Alright, so for tower stacking, you want to have 2 Deadly Strikers and 1 Lightning at each crystal. So the Deadly Strikers, you should be placing them farther back than I am, but have one facing like this, one facing like this, and then Lightning Tower like that, and you're set. If you place the Deadly Strikers and Lightnings farther back, as long as you have enough range, there won't be anything that's worse, but the Deadly Strikers will have kind of double coverage for Ogres, so you'll probably be a lot happier with that. Okay, now is the second to last part where we just spam a bunch of minions. So we're going to place down a set of spider minion walls and mage minions at each area here, 3 and 3. If you can, try to go a little bit faster with this. Not 100% necessary since this is just the campaign and we have the luxury of being on our Jester. But the more you get down, the better. There we go. And now we're going to do the other side. And don't be afraid if you can't get all of this down. Just getting a small minion wall is more than enough. Like a mage or 2 at each area. If you're wondering why we're not using archers, it's because these minions tend to take a kind of a beating. So it's a lot better to have the mages and spiders than the archers. And there's usually a ton of ogres here. So what ends up happening is that one spider will, web one ogre, but then you'll need the other ogre webbed, and the spider's on cooldown for the first spider will be on cooldown for its web. So, out of luck there. But now move back and upgrade your buff beams on the back end, on the top left and the top right, and that'll ensure all of the DPS you need for a good little while. There's a couple more reflectors here and there that we're going to need to get, but this is more or less the build. We're just going to be slapping down a reflector in front of each mage wall here, and then over there, and then a buff beam on this set of minions, and then on the set of minions on the top right over there. But that'll be pretty much it. And mana you can get very, very easily just by spamming ogres because they don't die fast enough that you'll ever really need to, run out in the middle of nowhere for mana. Plus, they die pretty close, so you can always get a good amount of mana just by standing still. Or moving forward a little bit, I mean. If you're noticing that your gas trap's a little too large and they're causing problems down here, it is definitely worthwhile to just shrink their size. 1 or 2 notches, chevrons maybe, I forget the term. But it doesn't really slow down the rounds that much if you're on a Jester because you can just go over there and kill them. Alright, I'm low on mana. I forgot that I still want to place towers. Jump back onto your EV, and what we're going to do is slap down a buff beam and reflectors. Now, this build isn't exactly the survival build, but it's more or less the same. So slap down a reflector very close to your mages there, and then one like this. If you're wondering why we place it like that, it's because goblin copters suck. And they will attack your mages from the side sometimes, and when they do that, nothing good ever happens. And then do the same thing over here, and that's pretty much it for the campaign. If you want to, you can slap down a set of ethereal spike traps on the gas traps at the bottom of the map. I'll show you guys where to do that in a second. You have just enough DU left over to slap down either 2 proximity mines or 2 ethereal spike traps. And if you're going to do that, slap them down on this side of the crystal for each of them, because that's where the ogres are going to be. If you noticed, we don't actually have any towers down there, and that's because there are no natural ogres that will go to the bottom left or bottom right crystal. And as a result, we can just keep these areas completely empty of physical towers. That way, the natural ogres won't get attracted down there and, beat the crystal down, and we can consolidate. Is that the term? We can focus all of our defenses on the top left and the top right. But yeah, this is basically the build. Upgrade each of the buff beams to maximum, and then upgrade each of the auras to maximum, and then that's literally it. You don't have to worry about anything else. Not for the campaign. The only thing I would recommend is just occasionally run around and use your gesture wheel to do sword, sword, sword. Not necessary at all, but it does speed up the waves a little bit here and there, so I like to do it. Plus, I kind of get bored. But yeah, I'll see you guys on the final wave, or straight into survival. Probably on the final wave, because this map can drop some decent accessories. Not worth doing 4-player, but, Ow, my ears. Fuck me. Cool. Map completed. Is my mic on? My mic is on. Map is completed. We got some slick bracers. Cool, I won't use those. And we got a terrible helmet. Wonderful. And I imagine all of these are atrocious. Not too bad. Cool. Let's move into survival. Karathiki survival. Start on wave 1 because I don't think you get any more mana for starting on later waves. Wave 1 is a little bit harder on survival than it is on campaign in terms of actual wave difficulty, but the nice part is that you get no timer, so you can, have some patience when you're placing down your stuff and you don't have to go mecha speed. But the first part of the build is more or less the same, so I'll explain other parts in a bit. The first thing is on this map, after wave about 20 is, at least for my stats, where you can't really AFK a full round anymore. Before wave 20, more or less, you're able to AFK an entire round and not have to worry about the HP of your minions. Auras. But I've found that this bottom right aura area just gets tanked like crazy. I don't know what happens down there for there to be so many, for there to be so much damage done to the aura. But yeah, the bottom right area will go down after wave 20 if you have, what is it, 2.4k HP or less. But up until that point, you can go pretty much completely AFK. And on wave 15 in this map, you get a monkey pet. Now, monkey pets are actually pretty good, but they're not that important for our route or anything that we're going to be doing in general. But since we will be doing Ember Mount Volcano, no, not Ember, actually Ember Mount as well. We're going to be doing a different map. What was it called? Uh, Volcanic Eruption, that's what it's called. Since we're going to be doing Volcanic Eruption, in the future, it is going to be nice to have the banana pets, the monkey pets. So make sure to bring in your extra characters at the end of wave 14. Alright, next is going to be our traps. So here's the main difference between the survival and the campaign build. You're going to be getting an extra lightning tower at each of the top areas, and you're only going to be placing one gas trap for each of the bottom areas. And other than that, it's more or less the exact same build. So, this where you place these doesn't really matter that much, but just go over to the top side and place the gas traps there. And I think you get the exact same amount of mana, which is nice. So you don't have to worry too much about like some maps where you only end up with, 80 mana per chest instead of 100 for some reason. Rambling. There we go. Now, what else is there? Chests. There's a ton of chests on this map. I think there's like 12 chests total, something like that. And because of the recent, I guess it's not recent anymore, but the somewhat recent buff that chests have had in terms of the item drop amount, you can get up to an extra like 40 items on the map through the chests. And in my experience, the quality of items dropped through the chests have been much higher than the quality of items dropped from enemies. So they're very much worthwhile, even if you're going to be on a 0 speed summoner like I am. Go ahead, get the chests. Definitely going to be worth your time. Ooh. Be a little bit cautious with where you place your reflector beams on survival because you really will need them a lot more than you did before. Actually, I'm going to place this one a little bit. I'm going to place it over here for now. And then your reflector over here does not matter that much from my experience. Surprisingly enough, that reflector back there doesn't really matter how much you angle it or how you angle it. You don't have to be super precise with it. And that's kind of nice because I don't like having to be super precise. Am I stupid? Oh wait, hold on. We're only on the first wave, so you don't need both of these reflectors. Both of these buff beams. Forgot about that. Instead, we're going to be using our mana to move around the gas traps. So the first thing we need to do is jump onto our Jester and drop all his items. Or not drop them, but put them in your item box. So let me show you. I might have explained this mechanic in the past, But what you want to do is basically in your character's item, just put anything that gives you positive range into your item box. Literally anything. So this chest piece, these bracers, what else? I think that's it. No, I still have my staff giving me 100 range. There we go. Now that we have 0 in our defense range, we can go ahead and pick up these gas traps right here and put them in a beautiful spot right here in the middle. Now, if you can, try to angle these a little bit more towards the right, but still keep them pretty centralized. The reason you want to angle these a little bit more towards the right than you might think is because sometimes archers will get bunched up here in such a way that they're still able to hit the crystal without getting hit by the gas trap. And if you get unlucky, that might end your run. Now, normally, that isn't a problem, but, you know, it's definitely best to take precautionary, is that the term? Be safe with it, basically. Something like that. There might need to be a little bit more accuracy with how you place those than what I did, but I think that probably works just about good enough. And then do the same thing over here. These gas traps you don't need to care as much about. So you can kind of be a lot cheaper, lazier. That's the term with your gas traps. And then go back into your items and just give. Cool. And we're all set. So for the start of the wave, start on the bottom left or the bottom right. I prefer the bottom left. And spam your shots down here so you get a bit of mana so that you can upgrade your thingamaherd. And then do the same thing on the bottom left. Don't worry about that ogre just yet. Upgrade this one just as much as you can in the quick bit of time you have. And then do triple sword. This will get the ogre to focus on you instead of on the crystal, which is going to be really nice, because otherwise he would go straight for the crystal and beat the shite out of it. There we go. And now you can get the other ogre to also focus on you, and that's pretty much it for what's going to be, you know, important on the round. So farm as much mana as you want, upgrade everything to max. Stay on your gesture until literally everything is upgraded to max. I guess the only thing that wouldn't matter would be your what's we call it? Let's see if I can jump over. The only thing that doesn't matter, I suppose, would be your gas traps, because they never really need to be upgraded. But if you can, try to upgrade them, and if you can, try to make sure that you have a little bit of mana left over from everything else. Cool. And that should be all the mana we need to build literally everything. Although it's kind of in a sucky position, so I might move some of it down here. Alright, so first things first, buff beams. Gonna get the rest of these buff beams down. And actually I'm gonna move a gas trap, this one over here. I forgot about this one. We're gonna move this one back to the middle. I don't think it actually matters where exactly you place this, just as long as it's in that center area, because it's a lot more forgiving. I'm stupid. There we go. Alright, swap to your EV. And if you want, you can place one reflector either on that bottom right or bottom left crystal facing this side or the other side, basically outside of the inner, because that's the only area you have to worry about in terms of archers hitting your crystal. Make a 40U buff beam right there, and then over here, another 40U buff beam. Let me see if I should. Oh, that 500 mana disappeared. 40U buff beam, something like that. Reflector, be a little bit like that. There we go. And then make 2 reflectors right here, and then 1 right here. Try to play a little bit closer with these. In fact, you might want to have this reflector right here going out a little more than I did, as much as it can, like that. The closer they are to your minions, the better, in my experience. The main goal for these is to make sure that the goblin copters can't just annihilate your your minions, and also to make sure that the ogre spitballs from the ogres that are outside of the weakened aura don't kill you completely. And there we go. And then one over here. I guess we can make this one a lot longer. And then one just like that. Boomba. And then the buff beam, and that should be it for most of the DU. Not D, yeah, DU. Most of the buff beams. And then swap over to your Jester? Mage. Words. English. And the same thing as before, but this time you have the luxury of mana, so you can slap down another set of lightning towers at each area. You have just barely enough DU left over to be able to do that. Alright. Again, if you can, try to go a little bit farther back with your Deadly Strikers, but I'm feeling lazy. And I think I have enough range to where they can cover both sides anyways, so I don't have that much to worry about. There you go. Same thing on the other side, and that'll be pretty much it. And then the rest is just minions. I would recommend on here, right here, and on the same side on the opposite of the map, opposite side of the map, there's a lot of words. Place 4 spiders, 4 minions, instead of 3 spiders, 3 minions. My brain is shutting down slowly. There we go, and there we go. Doop doop. Yep, 1 DU left over. 1 singular DU. And I will go onto our EV. That's a lot of wasted mana. And slap it down somewhere in the middle of nowhere. How about on this crystal right here? Baboomba. Now, enemies will get to very high health amounts in the later waves. I think ogres get up to 60 something million, 66 million, 68 million HP. Those are the sky ogres, skogres. But the regular ogres get up to 32 million, which isn't too bad. It's just that at the start of every wave, there's going to be a lot of them, and I do mean a lot. So that's something to keep an eye out for. Place your spider minions, if you can, as close together as you can. Not exactly as close together, because you can stack them, but make sure that you're able to get like 4 of them down. Looks like it's not going to be possible. That's fine. Spider minions aren't as important as the mages. Make sure your mages that you have at least 4 in these top areas towards the center, like that. And definitely make sure that they're not like poking out of these reflectors, because if they are, it'll be GG. If you have a situation like I do here, just place down your mage and very quickly maneuver it, press 8 to get it stuck in its position. If you do this, in the first like second or so when a mage is summoned, it actually has no collision hitbox. I don't know if that's what it's called, but basically it can run through other minions without any issue. So you don't have to worry about stacking them in a certain way. We are short on mana. There we go. And that's pretty much it. I think we have a little bit under the amount of MU necessary to do an exact copy on each side of the map for spiders and minions, but shouldn't matter too much because we have roughly enough to get 4 spiders, 4 minions, or 3 spiders, 3 minions. 3 and 4, bueno, and then probably 3 spiders, 3 mages. I've noticed that the top right area has it a lot easier than the top left area most of the time. Like this place just kind of chills. I don't know why exactly, but I'll tell you this much, I'm definitely not complaining about it. There we go. So let's see, we have a little bit of DU left over. I would bet that's because I missed a spider somewhere. So I'm going to slap that extra mage on this left side here because I have noticed that it occasionally has issues with just the amount of ogres coming at it. Not the amount of skycopters, just the ogres. There's too many ogres. And we max out on DU perfectly. DU, MU, both. Now all that's left is to, I wonder if you can hear that. Now all that's left is to jump onto your Jester and upgrade everything to absolute maximum, including reflectors, because they will also get hit, although not really that much. Alright, we are on wave 14, and I believe I have finished maxing out literally everything there is to max out. So yeah, from this wave onwards, you can, I guess for me at least, for this wave onwards, I'm just going to be on my summoner, chilling on that top left crystal, and occasionally healing areas. So let me show you guys how to deal with enemies getting stuck here. This one's a little bit annoying, but just move towards him a little bit like that. And there you go. And he'll follow you out. And as a summoner, you just fly away if you need to. Just go up in the air and he can't hit you. As a jester, you know, just run away or just kill him as is. Oh, last thing. Remember to bring in your extra characters. This way, we get big money. Let's go. Alright, let's see. Bad upgrades, good upgrades, bad upgrades, bad upgrades. Cool, so it looks like we have one monkey that might be useful. Actually, probably isn't because it has so little starting damage. But it doesn't really matter since these monkeys are half collecting and the other half is just, you know, they're cool. Now I'm going to start running around on my summoner, picking up random pieces of Transcendent gear, whatever just looks good to me, and occasionally repairing stuff. I think we should be fine, at least for my testing. I was able to reach, well, not reach, I was able to finish the entire map pretty comfortably, but that was only testing, so to be determined if that's going to stay true. I would bet a large sum of money that I did not place my gas traps correctly at the bottom right. Okay, well, I'm going to try going again, starting on wave like 29, 28, and hopefully all goes well. I'm not particularly surprised we failed like that, but it definitely sucks. This time I think I'm just going to move my gas trap a little bit more to the right. By a little bit, I mean a lot more to the right. But everything else, I mean, it's the same build more or less. But I think for some reason, this time there were a bunch of ogres getting stuck in the bottom left instead of the bottom right, which meant that the top right side was getting more of its sky ogres coming in, and therefore it was having a bit of difficulty. Like wave 29 there, I hope I highlighted it. I had to like go full defense mode, but I still got a ton of loot, and that was like my bare minimum. That was my bare minimum goal, was to get to wave 30 without having too much difficulty. And that goal was accomplished pretty well. The only thing that sucks is that, you know, I just misplaced a gas trap. I think if I just put it on like an extra 100 or 200 range, that problem would probably disappear. But I'm just going to redo the build more or less the exact same way, but with the gas trap on the bottom right being moved a little bit more to the right. And then I will try again. I can't say for sure that it was an archer, because I didn't see it, but last time there was an archer to the bottom right, an archer to the bottom left, and both of them gave me infinite trouble, so I can't really imagine this time it was anything different. I will say that it's going to be really... Wait, why don't I just make a folder? There we go. It's going to be really annoying to have to sort through all this gear, so I'm thinking... I accidentally picked up a piece of mythical gear. I'm thinking I'll sort through all of this gear at some point in the future. And by that I mean like tomorrow or the day after, because if I sort through it today, odds are I'm not going to be able to upload this episode. So if you're seeing this on the day before Christmas Eve or like very early on Christmas, like, you know, in the AMs, then odds are that I just continued I continued, that I didn't look through my loot yet. But from the stuff that I've seen, I mean, not even mentioning the ultimates, pretty set, definitely in terms of DPS, like ability 1, ability 2, and probably set in terms of the other characters. Okay, so now I have to decide if I'm just going to try and ball and just hope that that top left area doesn't get boned, or if I'm going to play it smart and do it with my Jester. I'm going to ball. Oh, fuck. Okay, that changes things. Okay, I didn't realize that the top left towers were also not maxed out. That sucks. Okay, so we're gonna have to be on the Jester, and we're gonna have to go full on jesting mode. Where? Hey, 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 hey! Want. What the fuck? How? Yippee! Oh, God, my ears. I'm gonna have to go deal with the inventory mess that those items just caused. And there's even more Transcendence to look through on the floor. But we did it. Not too bad. Definitely a lot worse, sort of surprisingly, than the practice attempts. I guess not practice, but like I guess it was a practice on offline. We are not. All right, and we are finished with Karathiki Jungle. I'm tired. We finished all of the survival. Took 2 attempts. Kind of sad that it took 2 attempts, but not surprising considering my gas trap placement was terrible on that first one. Other than that, bit of a close call on wave like 32 or 33. But like I said before, you really have to start paying attention on wave like 30 onwards, 30 something onwards, for the top area's minions. But the bottom area was pretty fine. That reflector on the bottom left was definitely a good choice for me. Uh, yeah, that was it for Karathiki. We got a ton of stuff to look through. Let's see, 141 Transcendent events, which are going to be really, really fun to sort through. Uh, for me, not for you guys. You guys are just going to see me with new gear in the next episode. But for me, I'm going to spend like an hour doing this. But I'm probably going to do that tomorrow because I want to get this video uploaded sometime, like either within the next like 6 hours or the next 8 hours. And since I have a couple of hours of footage to sort through, that means that I'm probably not going to have time to both do that and sleep if I decide to sort through the items. But I will say that a lot of these items that we picked up, let's call it half, a little less than half, were items that were for DPS characters um, more than anything else. Like ability 1 mainly. So like this right here, this is an ability 1 piece. And the reason we're doing that is because not only do we want to have ability 1, just in general, but for the upcoming Infested Ruins on the next episode, we're going to need a ton of ability 1 because we're relying, I think, entirely, completely on tower damage, which will be an interesting experience. So yeah, next episode, straight into Infested Ruins campaign. We might do an XP farm in either Ember Mount Volcano or if we can handle it, Tinker's Nightmare Hardcore campaign. I'll see how it goes, but yeah. Either way, it's going to be an XP farm and Infested Ruins in the next episode. And then after that, I have literally no idea because I have nothing planned out once we're done with all the like major stat things. Maybe we'll start on the challenges or maybe maybe we'll finish the campaign for the base game. But yeah, that's it for this episode. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Probably like, let's call it before the 30th of December. Shouldn't take that long to do Infested. It's not that much. The map is pretty short compared to Karathiki. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.